Hello, folks. Today we're going to start a new series, How to Escape the Fascist States of America. First thing first, we're going to need a passport. Now, that's not the only way, but it is the easiest way because it helps when other countries will let you in. And documentation makes that a whole hell of a lot easier. It's also better to do this sooner rather than later. We have 67 days until the U.S. State Department gets a catastrophic staffing change. Now, getting a passport sounds intimidating, but it's not as big a deal as you might think. I did this last weekend, and we'll go step by step through the process. First, you're going to need documents. You're going to need a birth certificate to confirm your citizenship and a state or government ID to verify your information. If the names on those do not match, such as if you got married or if you had a court order to change your name, bring the document that shows that name change along with. If you got married, the marriage certificate will do. If you got a court-ordered name change, bring the court order. As long as there's something to link the birth certificate with the state ID, you should be fine. Next, you need to go to the State Department website. There are other ways to get this form, but not any as fast or as easy. The easiest way is to do a search for Form DS11, and that'll get you to the page you want the fastest. I've already pulled it up for our convenience. This is the page that you find the form on, and you can fill it out right online and then print it off. If for some reason your computer can't do that, you can print out the form and then fill it in by hand. However you do it, do not sign it. That's something that needs to be done when you're in front of the person you turned it into. So make sure to cover that base. Now there's a few different options. The DS82 is here too. That's for renewing applications, data correction and name changes and certain other niche passports. There's a bunch of other forms for other things, including lost or stolen passports. But if you're applying for the first time, you want the DS11. And so you click on that little button right there. Privacy statement, of course. Again, I just did this last weekend, so read it, but we don't have to do that right now. Next, to fill out your application online. If you have an old passport, well, you don't need to do this because you can just renew the old one. But what you want to do, you don't want to report a lost or stolen. You can check on the status. That's a neat thing I may look into later, but we want the fill out and print option. So we're going to hit that. It gives you the instructions. And then obviously I'm not going to fill this out right here, but you can go section by section. It's the standard stuff: name, date of birth, city of birth, your social security number, all these various things. You can opt to change your gender marker. Relevant thing. Even if your state ID has one gender marker, you can check this box and put a different gender marker on your passport. So at least you'll have one form of ID with your correct gender marker on it. And since this is federal, if you happen to live in a state where they don't allow changes to gender markers, this is one way to get a piece of ID that is federally recognized with the correct gender on it. That's something to keep in your back pocket, even if you're not fleeing the United States. So there's that. And you're going to go through section by section. Obviously, we can't go on unless I fill stuff in. You're going to need stuff. You're going to need information, much of which will be on your birth certificate, such as your parents' birth name, where they were born. If you have a spouse, you're going to need their information. Even if it's a former spouse, you need to be able to enter their social security number. But most of the information is going to be stuff either you should have memorized or is right there on your birth certificate. So keep all that available, but it should be just fill in the information and move on. There shouldn't be any major roadblocks here. Once you've got the whole thing done, again, print it out, all of it. The first 4 pages are instructions. You don't need those, but you need to show the clerk that you have the whole thing. So just print the whole thing. It'll be fine. Now you've got to turn it in. This is super easy. because most post offices will take these. And there are other places to do it too. If you happen to live near certain kinds of federal buildings, that's great. But there's a post office nearby virtually every town, and most of them will take these. Most of those will also do photos, which is another thing you need. And that's really handy because you need pictures that meet very specific requirements. The post office usually you should check and make sure your postal office can do this, but most of them can for about $15, which is a fraction of what a professional photographer would charge. And you do not want an amateur. A mess up on the specs by 1 millimeter will get the whole application rejected. So just keep it easy. Have the post office do it for that tiny little fee. You don't always have to make an appointment. Several allow walk-ins, but if you can make an appointment, that may be best because you're guaranteeing you're there when they're able to take applications, when they're able to do photos, and you have a time slot reserved so nobody else can. You are guaranteed a spot. So I highly recommend that, but you don't necessarily have to. I'm pulling up the page here. This is the page on USPS. Schedule an appointment, choose your service, new passport with photos. If you're getting photos, pick that one. They'll also just do photos for you if you want, in case you're submitting your application somewhere else, or you submit it and forget to send in photos. And then you can do the renewal too. So if you want to do, say, passport with photos, you tell them how many adults. If it's just you, then one. If there's children, you can do children, same form. The fee is slightly lower, but you can do it all at once in a single appointment if you really want to. And then you can search by location or by the date you're available, put in your city, your radius. And if you do want photos, make sure you've checked the box saying passport photo locations, because not every post office does. Many do, but not all of them. If you don't need photos for whatever reason, then you can just do new passport only, and then you don't need to have the box checked. And then you do your search. It'll bring up options. You select the location, you select your time, and then you need to give them a way to verify your appointment. So you'll fill in some information. They can either text you or email you, and send in the code, punch in the confirmation, boom, your appointment. I'm knocking things over, folks. Of course I am. It's what we do here. Your appointment will be confirmed and you're all good to go. So yeah, that's it. Once you are there, they'll check all your forms. You should be aware, they will take your real birth certificate. They don't just make a photocopy. They need the real thing to send into state. It'll get mailed back, but it will be gone for a few weeks. So be prepared. If there's something else you need your birth certificate for, maybe do that first, because it will be away for a few weeks. Or get a spare copy from your state if you can. Your ID, however, they will just photocopy. They need front and back, but they'll just make a photocopy and you get to keep your ID, which is good because for many of us, that's a driver's license, and you kind of need your driver's license to do the driving thing. If you do need photos, they'll do that with you. Make sure you're wearing a solid color. That isn't strictly necessary, but it reduces the odds of problems with your pics. Also, no hats, much to my chagrin. Once everything is ready, they'll have you sign your papers. There are 3 different costs: the fee to accept your paperwork, the fee for the photos. Both of those go to the post office. They can take cash or debit card. The processing fee goes to the State Department. Even though it's 2024, they require a personal check or a money order. Yes, the most technologically advanced government on earth, and they still can't process a debit card. The good news is the postal office also can issue you a money order for the State Department fee, and you can use your debit card or cash to pay for that as well. Altogether, it costs $195 for adults, $150 for kids, and you can speed up the processing time and shipping time for additional costs if you're getting too close to January 20th for comfort. As of last Saturday, the turnaround time was 4 to 6 weeks, or 42 days, though with the demand increasing fast, it's better to get in sooner rather than later. If you have to wait until near January 20th, don't give up. It's unlikely the State Department will stop functioning entirely on day one. How fast everything will fall apart is anyone's guess. So avoiding problems by doing it early is strongly recommended, but doing it late is still better than not doing it. Make sure you're subscribed, because we're going to discuss more steps to prepare for departure as the countdown to D-Day continues. Thank you for watching.